Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I welcome Dr. Venkatesan Selvaraj, and he will talk on challenges in tea cultivation, marketability, and exports. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Venkatesan Selvaraj. Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm the director at Tocklai Tea Research Institute. And this is one of the two research institutes that's there in India for exclusively doing research on tea. And today's topic is about challenges that tea cultivation and tea cultivation is facing, and also in going its marketability and also on the exports. So this is how tea is grown in Assam. Most of you must have seen one part of the world, like maybe you have seen in South India or you have seen in Northeast India. In Northeast India, tea is grown on flat land, which is shown in this picture. And then in South India, normally the teas are grown in this kind of hilly terrains. In Northeast, there is only one exception, that is in Darjeeling, that you have teas are cultivated on the hilly terrains. So I'm coming from a tea research institute, as I already introduced, and then this institute is about 114 years old, doing exclusive R&D works on tea only and all aspects of tea. Furthermore, like if you want more introduction, like it's the oldest and largest tea research institute globally, and it promotes research on tea with the principal objective of improving overall productivity and quality of tea. We also have 10 different advisory centers all over Northeast and West Bengal, catering to about 1,100 large tea estates and also more than 2,000 small tea growers. Our contribution to small tea growers are much limited because of the funding issues. But then this 1,100 large tea estates, they are funding us indirectly in the name of subscription. So we are fully servicing to them. That's how the industry works. It's a partnership between tea board and then also with tea growers together. So this is some images from the tea research institutes where I'm sitting. Our library and then our tea manufacturing machinery and then factory. And also you can see the main gate of Tocklai Tea Research Institute here. And this is the administrative and directorate building. That's where I'm sitting in. And this is our analytical laboratory, which is equipped with all kind of modern amenities. And we are an accredited laboratory with ISO 17025 certified, and then notified by Tea Board, notified by FSSAI, notified by CIBRC. And some slides you are seeing, some images which you are seeing here is talking about the work which is being done in other divisions. Like we have tissue culture division, which is doing quite a lot of work on propagating shade trees using tissue culture. And micro propagation of our TV clones are very famous for cultivation. So the tissue culture laboratory is doing a lot of work on that. We also do a lot of research on mechanical harvesting that I will explain you a little later. And then these are all sticky traps, the yellow color ones which you are seeing, sticky traps placed on the shade trees of tea plantation so that the pests are getting attracted towards these sticky traps and then get trapped. This is only to reduce the pest incidences. And tea production, when you look at the production figures of India, like most of the tea comes from northern part of India. Let us say above Mumbai, we can call it colloquially as northern part. If you want to be understanding it specifically, then it is about Northeast, we can say. In the Northeast, I'm also including West Bengal as one of the portions. So if that is the case, major portion of tea comes from Assam, followed by West Bengal, and then put together. Then we have a portion by South India also. South India is also like having more than 11,000 hectares, 1 lakh hectares under tea, and it is producing about 232 millions. And there is a research institute in South India, that is Upasi Tea Research Institute, that is catering the plantation requirements in South India, and then we are catering the needs of plantation requirements in, tea plantation requirements in Northeast. When we come to the topic, directly to the topic, the challenges that we face, this slide talks to you about the constant challenges that we are having in the tea industry. Means it is there for the hundreds of years now. Tea industry is like more than 100 years old in India, maybe 200 years now. So these are all the challenges that they are facing from the day one. Like primarily, it has grown very scientifically because tea is not like rice and then other crops like chili, onion. Like tea basically is not a bush of what you are seeing it here. It used to be a kind of tree. So from the beginning, tea has to be trained. Tea has to be cut off at a particular point to make it as a pluckable platform, and then we work with it. That's how tea is grown scientifically. And tea is not a small pluckable bush as we are seeing in the images. If you leave it, it will become a tree. And it is labor intensive. We all know that. And all days of operations, there is no break except Sundays. Even on some Sundays, factories used to work because leaves coming into the factory on Saturday will be manufactured by Sunday afternoon only. So it is round the clock working, and it's remote locations because tea is cultivated in a isolated area in a massive scale. So there is no other industries or no other uh, city or town will be nearby. Normally, it is in the barren land, in a hilly land that they cultivate tea initially. So it is always on the remotest locations. The other industries will be absent there. So these are all the drawbacks from the day one the tea industry started in India we are facing. These are constant challenges. But then the challenges of late are like climate change and environmental threats is one of the biggest challenge we have. Labor and the production costs is increasing every year on year it is increasing. And smallholder farmer issues because there are no proper mechanism of approaching small growers and then telling them what is right and what is not right. So that is where that problem, that challenge arises because smallholders are not smaller in number nowadays. If you look at the overall production, 52 to 55% of the tea in India is being produced by small growers. That's why I say the small growers are no longer the small growers. They are already becoming a major grower now. They have overtaken the corporates and major tea growers. So let's see one by one what kind of mitigation plans we can have for all these drawbacks or challenges. We know that climate change, we have been talking in, I mean, you must have heard about a lot of occasions. The climate change itself is not a factor, but then the drawback is that it is bringing in a lot of other illness to the tea industry. Particularly when the climate change happens, then you get erratic rainfall. Then the rising temperatures are the cause of climate change. If you look at places like Darjeeling, Kachar, or even the Assam, Jorhat area where I am sitting, we have the records from 1925 because these institutes or this kind of plantations were formed during British period. So the records are very much clear with us. So we have more than 75 years of record. When we look at the record and then when we check, the temperature rise is already 1.2 to 1.3 degrees centigrade in all these locations when you compare with the long-term average. Last 10 years average with the long-term average I'm talking about. When you compare like that, it's already 1.2, 1.3 degrees more. And pest and disease incidence will also increase because of the rising temperature. Because as the temperature is rising, one side, the chemical which you are spraying on the field will also be not working properly because chemical decomposition will happen at high temperatures. So that happens. So the controlling pest and disease becoming very, very difficult due to climate change. And soil degradation is another major factor that major challenge that the tea industry is facing now. So for rising temperature, we conduct experiments like this. These are all the various varieties of clones and then various varieties of tea, let us say. From the beginning, we started giving it little more temperature, little less humidity, and more dryness in the field, in the artificially created field, to find out which clone will be performing better under this kind of stress. So these are all the work that our Tea Research Association is doing to mitigate the rise in temperature problems. So the same pictures are given here. As I said, we are selecting already promising cultivars, but then we are putting them into more and more pressure, more and more temperature, so that we can choose what will be the better for the future. These are all the research being done with the futuristic thing in mind. Okay. Now the challenge with respect to climate change is also about when we say about challenge, we have to also say what is a mitigation procedure. So this is the mitigation procedure for less humidity. Tea requires a good humid environment for its growth. So rising temperature makes it dry over the period of time, particularly during the summer months. So to compensate, we have been trying to have check dams on the plantation area to find out the microclimate conditions. So these are all the pictures that we have. I mean, these are all the diagrams that is giving you a clear-cut information about when we have pond at the west, pond at the east, north, south, and nearer to the field, what kind of humidity improvement we can bring out with these kind of ponds. So these data are quite useful, and then we are trying to extrapolate these data to the field conditions so that people can create pond um, based on the requirement of their humidity. I mean, based on the dryness that they are facing during the dry months. And another important thing is about carbon emission. You are all aware that like 2050, the PM Modi ji has announced India to be neutral in carbon. So to go towards carbon neutral strategy, we need to have um, measured carbon output. What kind of emission we are doing? We need to be really measuring it and then releasing it to the fields. So this diagram shows you, like we have done like 3 years of very extensive research and work. Finally, we have concluded the data here. Like in the cultivation practices alone, we are losing around 1.05 to 2.1 kilogram of carbon that is being produced for every kg of made tea that we are producing. That's quite a lot actually. Similarly, in the processing stage means the manufacturing. Manufacturing also contributing more than what is contributed in the field cultivations, field practices. So that's about 1.48 to 3.52 kilogram of carbon. In terms of carbon, we are releasing emission for every kg of made tea that we are producing. This is really alarming amount. In total, we can say around 2.5 to 5 kilogram of carbon dioxide emission for every kilogram of tea that we buy from the shop. This is not including the tea that is being transported from the gate, from the factory gate to the consumer hand. That is not calculated. It is only the cultivation aspects and the manufacturing aspects, and then packing after the manufacturing, packing of teas in bulk. That is the only calculation we have given. In spite of it, it looks like huge amount of carbon dioxide we are emitting for every kilogram of tea we are harvesting. So it also says that we need to go for some kind of mitigation strategies to bring down this carbon emission, so that we can comply to the national goal of zero carbon by 2070, I suppose, if it is not 2050. So the mitigation strategies are we identify the hotspots. Hotspot means every point, what is the kind of carbon emission we are having. That's a hotspot. We are going to identify that, and then we are going to uh, bring in strategies which will help us to reduce the carbon. Yeah, packaging and transport are the least consuming, least emitting operations when compared to cultivation and processing. Okay, coming to the soil degradation challenges. The main drawback is like more than 100 years tea is being cultivated on the same field. Most of the time, people do not uproot it. Even if they uproot after 50 years or 60 years due to root disease and other things, they don't even leave 2 to 3 years of time as a gap. Uprooting, maybe within a year, they go for replanting. If at all some progressive planters are leaving it for 2 or 3 years after uprooting, then also it is not really sufficient because 40 years, 45 years of monoculture operation, and then we are not able to give enough time. But then we cannot do anything with that because it is a plantation and it is a long-term perennial crop. and we can do nothing about it. But then we need to also find out what is the mitigation strategy for it. And similarly, soil erosion on sloped plantations. You know that the plantations, tea plantations are normally rain-fed. There is no irrigation facility. Most of the places, I'm talking about more than 90% of the tea is um, cultivated on the rain-fed area. So when we talk about rain-fed area, rainfall will do some soil erosion. That is what is happening in this. So hundreds of years now, I mean more than 100 years of tea plantation. So soil erosion is considerably higher. So overuse of chemical fertilizers, and I won't say overuse, at least usage of chemical fertilizers. Every year, even if you dump 300 kilograms of chemical fertilizer for 100 years when you dump, so it is going to have its own detrimental effect. That is what is happening in tea industry. So what kind of mitigation we can give for it is like cover crops. We can think of giving a cover crop, but the cover crops normally do not grow more than 1 or 2 inches in height, and they do not compete for nutrients with the tea feeder roots. So those kind of crops are called cover crops. We do have some recommendations for it. And similarly, border crops. Border crops is built on the plantation borders so that the soil erosion can be eradicated or stopped during the rainfall times. And also it's a good soil binder so that you don't lose the soil because of heavy rains or the soil, landslides, what we call it as landslides. Such things do not happen because the border crops can bind to the soils. It will not release them easily. Integrated nutrient management is the best approach that we always advocate. Every year, at least one round of organic fertilizer like bio manure or organic manure or something like that can be given, compromising on one round of fertilizer application, if possible. That we always recommend. And incorporation of biological fertilizers. Nowadays, there are a lot of biological fertilizers are available. Those can be incorporated into the soils. So pest and diseases, as we have already seen, pest and disease is a gift from unwanted gift rather from the climate change operations. 50 years back, the pest and disease were much less in tea. 25 years back, it was less. 10 years back, it was manageable. Today, it is not manageable. Things are going away from the hands of even the research institute like us. This year was one of the years that we have witnessed. We couldn't really control it. That's because of a lot of political issues and political problems also. We will see that at the end of the slide. So let us see about the common pest what we have. As we already discussed, it's a monocrop and then hundreds of years it is living. Minimum age is like 40, 45 years, average age. So when you compare like this, when you see it like that, then every part of the tea plant has some or other pest infested to that or encroached to that. So you are seeing something like tea mosquito bug, the first image that is affecting at the top of the bush. I mean, the main shoots which we harvest. And Jessets, you are seeing the number 2, that is called also green fly, which appeared only for the past 2 years. Before that, it was a minor pest. Not even we were studying that pest. But now it's a major pest now. This year, it has become a major pest. So changeover happens just like that. In the past, a minor pest to become major pest, it takes like 2 decades or 3 decades. Now it is 2 years, it becomes a major pest because of the extreme weather conditions. Similarly, thrips is other important pest that we have that is really emptying our pockets. And slightly below, if you come, you will have caterpillars. Caterpillars were not very popular or not very much relevant to northeastern tea cultivation, but in South India it was there. But now it is huge. Caterpillars are huge in our case. We couldn't control it this year also. Red spider mite, which is very popular in South India, which is a big menace in South India, is also there and with us, but then it is under very controlled condition this year. So these are all the major pests that we have been gifted by the climate change. So apart from that, there are other pests also. This is what I said. Every inch of tea bush, you have a pest, sorry. From the bottom to the top, you have pest everywhere. Right. Let's get into the diseases. What kind of disease we are getting now because of the climate change again? One from the root, the other from the leaf. Now let us see the leaf diseases. We have blister blight, we have dieback, we have gall disease. Blister blight is something very relevant to South India, not in Northeast. And gall disease and dieback. Dieback is common in both South and Northeast. Both the places it is available. And bacterial blight was not there until last year. This year we had major area under bacterial blight. And red rust. Sorry, red rust is another disease that's there for like a couple of decades, and then gray or brown blight we can say. That's also one of the minor diseases. These are all very minor diseases. Dieback is a major disease for us this year, followed by bacterial blight. Yeah, and the root diseases. There are many reasons. One is a waterlogging. If northeast, if you come, as I shown in the picture, tea is cultivated on the flat land, so naturally you have a lot of soil. I mean, sorry, water stagnation. That's creating a lot of disease on the bottom of the tea bush. One of them is red rust, and then horsehair blight, and branch canker, and then collar canker. So many things actually. If you come to our museum, we have a huge collection of root diseases that are kept. The specimen species are kept in our institute. Right. These are all the diseases we have seen. Disease also affects almost all part of the tea plants, competing with pests. So these are all the problems. On the other side, if you look at it, we do not have enough molecules. That's why I said we are not able to control it. It is not that we do not know science. We have molecules, but those molecules are not allowed by FSSAI to spray in India. Some molecules are allowed in FSSAI, but that is not allowed in export because UK doesn't want that molecule. Sometimes it is European Unions, they don't want that molecule. So there is a problem on that. That is why a lot of teas are getting into issues. So reason for non-compliance, I'm not giving any insight about how many samples have failed in the last year. That information I'm not giving. I'm giving an information here. Among the failed samples, 98% of the samples which are failed only because of pesticide residue issues. Yeah. So I'm not giving that. Don't take it as a mistake that 98% of the samples have failed. No. From the samples which are failed, maybe 1% of the sample of overall analysis have failed. From that 1%, then 98% of them have failed because of pesticide problem. What I wanted to indicate here is the problem due to pesticide is more than heavy metals and then other issues, quality parameters issues. Right. And okay. So we have already talked about it is a labor intensive field work. So we have raising cost. You know that the labor cost is rising every year. There is a protocol of increasing the labor wages. Election comes, government is in favor of labors. Then also the labor cost goes up. But then we do not have efficient labors on the field. That is one of the reasons. I mean, the efficient labors are going out from the tea garden work to some other work. And robotic mechanisms and other things are the mitigation plans that we are working on. Mechanical harvesters and robotic mechanism, and then mechanization versus quality is a field that has to be studied before we put in robotic and then mechanical harvesters, because finally tea needs a particular quality. It has to meet the particular quality for a particular market. Otherwise, we are not going to get good pricing for it. So it's a kind of vicious cycle, and then people are into trap of it. TRA is trying its level best to bring out the mitigation plan for the labor management. So this is on the left-hand side, you can see the picture. That is a robotic platform. It goes into the field, it automatically senses the shoots, and then it plucks. But then the plucking speed is comparatively smaller than what is needed. Otherwise, it's not cost-effective operation. So a lot of research is happening on that, because when this kind of machinery is going into the field is also having shade trees, you can see. So that is affecting the operation, that is affecting the speed of the machine. So we need to bring out a machine which will take care of everything. It's in research mode. It will take years to fine tune and then bring out a nice one. So challenges in marketability. We are coming to the other topic now. So far we have seen this about cultivation. Now let us see about marketability of the product. Supply demand imbalance. Of course, I wish I had a slide here about what is a demand and what is a supply. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring it here. We have an excess of like 2 million kilogram to 10 million kilogram, depending on the year. We produce that is more than what is needed for Indian domestic market. So when such excess quantity comes into the market, then the price drops. When the price drops, the planters get affected because they don't get the price. When the planters are getting affected, the payment of wages, salary, labor, everything becomes difficult. Electricity, everything becomes difficult. And the price is stagnant. One side, there is a supply demand is not in favor of tea sales. On the other side, there is a stagnation in the prices. 2 years, I mean, 10 years back, the tea was like on the market, I'm saying, whatever the price 10 years back, if you compare it today, you don't have even 30% increase in the market price, 30 or 40% more. But the cost have doubled or even tripled within the 10 years. Urea has gone somewhere. Muriate of potash, that is MOP, the fertilizer has gone to 60 rupees, which was around 25 rupees, 20 rupees. So the cost of operation is going up, and labor wages are increasing every 3 years, if not every year, and the bonus cost is also increasing. That is not being augmented by the tea marketability or the tea price realization. That is a problem here. And competition from alternative sources like coffee. Coffee was once upon a time not preferred. Like 20 years back, coffee was not in a boom. Now coffee consumption is going up, which is affecting tea. Of course, we are happy that at least people are drinking either coffee, tea, some healthy drink like this instead of going into aerated drinks. So that way we are happy, but at the same time, tea gets affected due to alternatives like coffee, which is coming in a big way. Once upon a time, I was told in Northeast, coffee drinking culture wasn't there. Now it's getting popular. People like to drink coffee. South, you know that we have been always drinking coffee in South. Similarly, pesticide residues, it's MRLs. This is one of the big menace that is playing a role. This is what I wanted to talk to you about during pesticide application. When we talked about pesticide application, this is the one I wanted to indicate. Like there is an FSSAI MRLs, and then there is a banned list of substances from FSSAI, which cannot be sprayed in tea field. And considering that, if you look at the PPC, that's a plant protection code developed by T-Board, is leaving only 65 molecules that can be sprayed to control all these pests. You have seen 1 dozen pests and then 1 dozen diseases. Put together, pest and disease alone are more than 2 dozen. But then we have only 5 dozen or even less than 5 dozen chemicals that are approved to be sprayed on the tea field, which is against 300 to 400 molecules in other countries, particularly in countries like China, where the pest is a problem. And less available biocontrol measures. We do not have a large number of biocontrol products or biocontrol mechanisms that can really help us to get away from the problem of pest and diseases. And on the marketability, instead of going ahead with the same old monotonous tea, there is a need for going into specialty teas like organic teas. Once upon a time, it came as a famous one, but then it is lacking its place now because there is no enough promotion, I suppose. So such specialty teas have to come and then take over the market. And certified sustainable teas, consumers are very much aware of now. They want to drink something which has not bothered anyone in their life. So if you look at certified sustainable teas, it means that tea have been produced under sustainable practices like labor wages are paid in time, labors are taken care of, the factory is clean, everything is included in the entire CSR versus plus the package of practices of cultivation and manufacturing, everything put together. So these are all called certified sustainable teas. So people are looking forward for it, but tea garden owners cannot afford this kind of certified sustainable teas in India. That is what is a problem now. But then we need to mitigate. And producers who, uh, for hundreds of years have been focusing only on low value bulk tea are struggling to attract premium prices. That is also affecting the tea industry as a whole because they know only to cultivate, harvest, manufacture. More than that, they do not know. And then making a factory again is a whole art of science and engineering together. So no big change in the factory and operations factory operations have come in the past 2 dozen or 3 dozen years that are all affecting uh, the producer's focus, and then finally ending up with low value bulk teas, yeah, where you don't get the price, and low quality or no counterfeit products, which is coming out from one or two places, but that will tarnish the image of the tea industry. So this is also happening. We cannot say no, but then you can take it for granted that most of the producers are producing in the right way, ethical way. And then changing consumer preference is also one of the main things. Like people wanted to taste oolong tea, green tea, and matcha tea. Now matcha is so famous. A lot of fake matchas are available everywhere because of matcha is famous. No matcha is produced ethnically in India, I suppose. So people wanted to have convenience packing nowadays, health and wellness. That's what I said, oolong tea, green tea, and stuff like. And ethical sourcing is also needed. So one side, when you produce our dust tea, that's going to be less flavor, easily bitter in taste, too much of processing, and very poor quality of tea on dust tea. Whereas if you take Northeast tea, the leaf grade quality is less bitter in taste, full of flavor, and full of antioxidants. Highest grade tea, no, a lot of antioxidants. Antioxidants can make you glow, looking young always. All those and anti-cancerous. So many benefits are there with antioxidants. So these are all the high value teas versus low value teas, and this is really playing a major role in our marketability. And challenges in tea exports. Yes, this is the last topic that we are saying about. Um, the major challenge comes through the trade barriers. You know that for the past 3 months, even the share market is going up and down only because of trade barriers, and then particularly on the tariff of Trump. And suppose if we are given larger tariff than Kenyan teas, so Kenyan teas are going to be sold more than Indian teas. Those kind of scenarios are getting created due to the trade barriers, and supply chain disturbance is one of the other conflicting factor that is happening here. For example, Russia versus Ukraine war really affected the tea sales for us. And pandemic happens. People don't come out. Tea sales have come down. People have gone into herbal drinking. People started drinking even ginger raw. That whatever they see as spices, and then YouTube, they started drinking. So that at the cost of tea, you compromise one drink and then go for the other drink. You cannot have all drinks together. So those things, and then shipping cost. In the recent past, you won't believe, for the past 10 years, the shipping costs have gone tremendously high. For the past 2 years alone, if my numbers are right, at least double it has become the shipping cost. I'm talking about international shipping costs, even by uh, even by water. Yeah, then competition, the low cost countries, that is a big problem for us. Like Sri Lankan teas are available at lower cost. Kenyan teas are available at comparatively lower cost than our cost. So naturally, the buyers are tend to move there to for their bulk purchase. If you look at the export value of India, like 32.2% of the teas were sold to other countries, means a lot of other countries. 17.9% was sold exclusively to US, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and then almost 10% of our teas are being exported to, I mean, not 10% of our tea. Among the teas exported, 10% goes to USA. That's how we have to read it. That's a big chunk. 10% of exported tea is a big chunk, but that's getting affected now in the past 1 month, particularly because of the trade barrier and tariffs. So, likely the Russian tea got shrunken to 7.5%. Once upon a time, we were selling a lot of tea to Russia. That has come down. That has gone into reduction because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So these are all the challenges we face during exports. The other different challenge on the export is as similar to our local market, local domestic market challenges. That is non-harmonized MRLs. MRLs is a maximum residue limit that they detect on the tea, the pesticide I'm talking about. So different countries have different MRLs. This is a big problem because as a producer, I cannot have one area for export and one area for local market, or one day I manufacture for export market, next day I manufacture for, within the export, one day I manufacture for UK, next day I manufacture for Germany, third day I manufacture for Japan, and peg them separately. It's not quite possible for us. So unless all these tea buying countries, they themselves put together, bring out a harmonized standard that MRL of particular molecule, say for example, MRL of chlorophenol is 5 ppm. It has to be 5 ppm in all the countries. Then the production becomes easy. Otherwise, the production is really, really difficult. That's what is happening in non-harmonized MRLs. This is a major bottleneck for your export because once it goes into the bulk auction, you cannot really distinguish where is it coming from, what kind of MRL levels it is going to have. And a tea which is not allowed inside UK, an MRL which is not allowed inside UK, if you buy it and then you will not be able to export it efficiently. Similarly, traceability and certification is also a big problem, which exporting countries are demanding for it. They demand from garden to the cup, which garden the tea started from. From that history, we have to give. That's very difficult after bulking and then putting in the auction, or after bulking. An export agent, if he buys from 10 different sources and then pulling them in his warehouse and then exporting, then also it becomes very difficult. So, like we have seen in the first slide, the logistical and then infrastructure gaps are also major problems for export because very poor infrastructure we have. The teas are grown on really, really wild forest like that kind of area. There are no proper road infrastructures. They are all remote locations. You cannot retain a qualified qualified population. You cannot retain in that area. That is all affecting your export market. And similarly, financial risk. Once you buy the tea from India and then trying to export, the currency fluctuations is really high nowadays, particularly against weakening Indian rupee. It's always high. So that precaution one has to take. And the price volatility is also there. Once you buy at some price, and there is another country which is going to dump their teas at lower price. They may not be equal quality like Assam tea or North Bengal tea, but then tea is a tea finally sometimes. Yeah. So the key takeaway from this session is like the path forward requires a shift from bulk commodity production to a focus on premium, value-added, and traceable tea to secure better price realization and meet modern consumer demands. The survival of the industry hinges on addressing the uh, twin threats of climate change adoption and social welfare, both together for the tea workers, both together will give us a success in our export market and also in the domestic market. Harmonized complaints mechanism is a need of the day, even for domestic market or for export market. Without that, it's going to be really, really challenging for the days to come for tea growers. So with this, my presentation is over. If there are any questions, I'm ready to interact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. I will take up the questions now. Sir, in the meantime, can you please stop sharing the screen, sir, so that we
Yes.
can see your full video?
Sure.
Okay. The first question is, how is climate change impacting tea yield quality and pest dynamics in regions like Assam and Darjeeling?
Yeah, but I think we have covered it in the presentation itself. The climate change is negatively impact. First of all, it is negatively impacting our tea productivity and also tea quality. It is bringing in a lot of new pests. That's what we have seen. The green fly wasn't there as a major pest a couple of years back. In the past 2 years, it came, and this year it has become major pest in the entire northeast and then also in Darjeeling. So that's how it is impacting negatively. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How can small tea growers be encouraged or supported to adapt scientific cultivation practices and sustainable models?
Yeah, for small tea growers, there is a help of tea board always available. There are tea development officers situated in almost all tea growing areas. Maybe not in every district, but every zone we can say. There are many tea board offices are available. The farmers can go and approach them. That is one approach, one way. The second way is tea small growers association can come forward and subscribe to the institutions like TRA in Northeast. For example, if they are in Northeast, then they can subscribe to Tea Research Association, because we are doing the neutral research here, and we will be able to reach out to them through our advisory centers. As I indicated in the presentation, we have 10 advisory centers all over northeastern states, four in Assam and three in North Bengal, one in Tripura and one in Arunachal Pradesh. So, and we are planning to open one in Meghalaya as well shortly. So, with all these infrastructure facilities, it will be easy for us to approach the small growers and then teach them the science of cultivating tea and then manufacturing tea. Only thing is they have to come forward to subscribe to the institution, which is partly funded by Tea Board. It is not that we are collecting all the money only from the farmers. We are like almost 49% or 52% rather, we are funded by Government of India through Tea Board. And remaining source of money comes from these kind of farmers. So they must come forward themselves we are open to welcome them anytime.
Okay. So despite being one of the largest producer, Indian teas often face price fluctuations. What are the main factors influencing its marketability?
At times, it is the seasonal fluctuation is there. There is one particular thing. For example, if you take the first flush of Northeast, I'm not talking about India here, I'm talking about Northeast, because Northeast goes into dormancy and then they start growing the first flush from March onwards. So May, June gets into the first flush tea. The first flush tea is normally regarded as high flavor, high aroma teas. That is true also. So that's fetching the high price. So overall, if you look at the scenario, some of the Darjeeling gardens are able to sell their teas like 10,000 rupees a kilo, 20,000 rupees a kilo, 5,000 rupees a kilo. They are not specialty teas. They are good quality, fantastic teas, no doubt about it. So that's the price they are selling. I'm talking about May, June, probably April, May. June, July, August, September, then from September onwards, the same garden sells a tea at the price of 400 rupees. So the difference between 5,000 rupees and 400 rupees is really impacting them. Whereas the cultivation practices, no big changes. Cost of manufacturing, no big changes. Small change will be there, but not a big change. In spite of it, they face this problem. That's why, no, I think I answered your question now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
So
moreover,
that's seasonal. Or maybe if you want to add more, you can think of MRL levels, like we discussed, pesticide residue levels. That is creating a bottleneck. And third major thing is import of tea. Uh, Now this is a time that Government of India imports or allows import. It doesn't import actually. I'm sorry. It allows import of tea from neighboring countries, like Kenya comes into play. Sri Lanka dumps its tea in India. When those teas are coming, when they are cheaper than Indian teas, then our price level comes down. These are all the reasons for fluctuations of price. But then it is agreed on the WTO, World Trade Organization. We need to buy good stuff. Wherever the consumer is, the consumer has to get um, reasonably priced, good quality materials. That's the concept behind this. So the government allows import. Yeah.
okay. How important are quality certifications, traceability, and sustainability labels in enhancing consumer trust and improving market prices?
It was a success story some time back. Even now, some gardens are really meticulously doing it. Some Rainforest Alliance is there one of the one of the sustainability certifiers. So, and then organic tea is on the other side. That's a quality of tea. I mean, the production of tea variant, that is also there. It was a success, and it is a success for some people. But then not all the gardens are able to afford it. That's a problem. That's what Indian tea industry is facing. It is up to the garden owners or up to the industry to take it up.
Okay. What are the major export challenges in terms of quality, consistency, or trade regulations that India needs to overcome?
That I think we have elaborately discussed. You asked about 3 points. What is it? One is a
In terms of quality, consistency, or trade regulations?
yeah. Quality and consistency has to. It's a seasonal one. There is no doubt about it. But most of the time, the quality and consistency are ensured before export is happening. The export buyers or the exporters, they ensure that they get the right quality material for the market which they wanted to export. Sometimes it may happen that somebody source it for European market, like say for example German market, and then they are not able, due to some reasons, they had to push the same tea to American market. The requirements are different. So that is a time the consistency will go. Otherwise, people are very careful about consistency and quality of tea when it comes to exports, and they are successful.
Okay. What policy or institutional support do you believe in is essential to help Indian tea regain a stronger global market share?
Yeah, to go for a high quality tea manufacture, as we discussed, the scenario, the mindsets are changing. Um, some other drink is coming and competing with tea. So we need to go on wellness and health platforms. We need to promote it so much on that. And we need to diversify our teas into other products like maybe polyphenol extracts and then no amino acid extracts. All those things can also come from tea. So this is the way we can really enhance our exports by diversification.
Okay. So finally, what message would you like to convey to young entrepreneurs and farmers interested in entering the tea industry today?
Tea industry is all about passion. Okay, many planters today, even when you talk to them, they are like last month I met a gentleman, 85, sorry, 92 years old. He spent his 60 plus years in tea industry as a manager. He's still working as manager in a garden. Almost it is his garden like. So it's all about passion. He doesn't want to leave. The company doesn't want to leave him. So it's all about passion. You need to come into tea industry. If you want to, by coming into tea industry, you will not be satisfying yourself. You will also satisfy the society where you are belonging to, because tea industry indirectly and directly employs lakhs and lakhs of workers. So everybody's life is on one crop, that is tea. So when you come into tea industry, when you work for it, naturally you are supporting the society, and it's an evergreen industry, and the industry is situated as very very natural environment. So the entrepreneur, either you are an entrepreneur or you wanted to start your career in tea, for both, it's a welcome stage. Actually, you can directly come in, and provided if you are ready to take challenging, no challenging pathway in your life, tea is good for you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank Dr. Venkatesan Selvaraj for the talk and for answering the questions. This
Yeah,
meeting will now be closed.
yeah. Thank you for the
Most
opportunity.
welcome, sir.
Bye.
Bye.